Morning, everyone. Today, let us study together 12 links of dependent origination. It's one of the very important Buddha Dharma in Mahayana Buddhism. They say Shakyamuni Buddha left the palace at the age of 29 after he very acutely felt the dukkha, the inherent dissatisfaction, dissatisfactory aspect of a life, and attained the supreme enlightenment in his mid-30s under the Bodhi tree. Then we casually say he attained great enlightenment. But what was he enlightened to? He was awakened to what? So how do you think?
That all dharmas are empty, that everything arises from something else. Suffering. Okay,
suffering. It becomes more narrowed down. But universal truth, ultimate reality, the empty nature of our things, all are very correct answer. But in the Theravada Buddhist tradition, they usually say, particularly, Buddha was enlightened to two truths. The truth of Four Noble Truths, the first thing. The second is the Dharma of dependent origination. Everything cannot exist in and of itself. Everything arises depending on certain conditions. That dependent origination or dependent co-arising is what he realized in the very early morning under the Bodhi tree. I'm not sure this is a true story or not. We heard the Isaac Newton in the late fall when he saw apple dropped on the ground. He could have thought of the concept of what? Gravity. By that notion, he could explain all phenomena in the universe. Why the apple drops on the ground, or the ebb and the flow of the ocean. The moon pours the ocean. Or the rotation of the earth around the sun. By just one single concept called gravity, he could explain all phenomena in the universe. Likewise, by the Dharma, by the teaching of a dependent origination, Buddha explained all phenomena. Or physical phenomena as well as how our thoughts arise, how our emotions arise and cease. By this teaching. Buddha said, one who sees a dependent origination sees the Dharma, and one who sees the Dharma sees dependent origination. Dependent origination is the translation of the Sanskrit word pratya sammukpada. This literally means independence, things originate. Sometimes it's translated conditional genesis or dependent co-arising, interdependent arising. Feel free to take whatever translated you like. Buddha described this by saying, when this is, that is, with the arising of this, that arises, when this is not, that is not. With the cessation of this, that ceases. How this wooden floor come into existence? Somebody bought this material from the Home Depot, and a couple of ministers actually worked to put this wooden panel. This would come from some tree, probably. How does the tree come into existence? How did that grow? Because of the sun, rain, because of the soil, and so on. This is a physical thing, whatever thing. This iPhone, clock, this gong arise depending on a certain matrix of conditions. Or how could our emotion or thoughts, for example, some resentment or anger arose yesterday to some person. It has some reason. Probably several days ago, your boss treated you unfairly, and so on. How could you hear my voice? Because I speak right now. Everything, material, mental, emotional, all phenomena arise depending on certain conditions. Nothing can exist in and of itself. That is the teaching of dependent origination. Kind of the Buddhist genesis. Buddha said, one thing and the only thing that I teach is humans' suffering and the path to end it. That is the only thing that he is interested in. Particularly related with the human's condition of suffering, birth, attachment, desire, and so on. He elaborated the teaching of dependent origination into 12 links of dependent origination. 12 links of dependent origination is the explanation of 12 unfolding causal stages, how humans' birth and the suffering arise in the causal relationship. As this Dharma tells, the recycle of a human's birth and the death in samsara. So when we clearly understand these 12 links of dependent origination, we can have the solution. We can have the wisdom to be free from that samsara existence, the secret existence of a birth and the death, conditioned by suffering. Sure, the answer can be very diverse, but why we have suffering in our life? What is the origin, the root of our suffering?
Attachment.
Yeah, attachment. Yeah.
Desire.
Okay.
Mind.
Mm-hmm.
And thoughts.
All are very correct. But in order to explain this picture, I would like to say why human beings suffer. The origin of human suffering is our birth. Because we are born in this world. That's why we suffer. Buddha was born as a prince. He was very intelligent, healthy person. He was kind of lived in the Hollywood movie set. But still, he could not avoid some inherent dissatisfaction in human's life. Old age, sickness, departing from the loved ones, and so on. So Buddha's question, his quest when he left the palace to discover the eternal truth was, why are humans come into this world? Why humans are born? Not just the humans, all kinds of animals and so on. It's not the biological question, why we are born in this world. It's a very philosophical or metaphysical question. Why we are born? And Buddha was influenced by the Indian tradition, their philosophy. So after he attended the Great Enlightenment, and he said, humans are born because they have a karma. Because of their karma, which originate from the ignorance of the human's mind. Ignorance triggers karmic action. That is why humans come into this world. That's why 12 links of dependent origination, this illustration, my friends draw this one. It turned out very nice. Usually starts from the ignorance. The first link, ignorance. The Sanskrit avidya literally means no light, no understanding, no wisdom. You see the image. A blind person is groping for his way with a cane. Since he is blind, he falls down and have a lot of difficult time. They symbolized that by this blind man. Because of our ignorance of our true self, ignorance of our mind, you said a lot of things, all are very correct, then we create a lot of karmic actions through our speech, through our body, through our thoughts. By these three gates, we constantly create some karma, which is symbolized, what is that? Karmic action by a potter shaping a vase on a wheel, just like a clay pot is fashioned into various sizes and shapes. Man molds his karma or life in the wheel of life by the action of body, speech, and mind. When we create the karma, then this karma or action become imprinted in our mind, in our consciousness. It becomes like a karmic seed in our. And our minds carries the imprints of all the good and bad karmic actions we have created. When these karmic imprints get activated, they can precipitate all the other links and ultimately to the rebirth in some realm of existence. Our consciousness or mind characterized some karma or ignorance leads to the rebirth in some particular realm of existence. This is symbolized, the third link, consciousness, deluded consciousness is symbolized by this monkey. Monkey is very restless, jumping around from this tree to that tree, from this branch to that branch. It's just like our mind. We can see when we practice meditation, when you observe. And when we are born, in a fetus, the fourth link, body and mind is formed in the mother's womb. This is the fourth link. Why? There's a 5 men on a boat. A baby is embarking on a journey in this turbulent or suffering sea. 5 men represent 5 aggregates. Mind is very subtle, so mind is further divided into, just like we chanted the Heart Sutra, sensations, perceptions, impulses, and consciousness, 5 aggregates. As time passes, the embryo starts to be developed, and 6 sense organs start to be formed. The 5th link is 6 senses: eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. It's represented by this empty house, which has 1 door and 5 windows. What do 5 windows symbolize?
Senses.
Yeah, 5 senses are here. 1 door means symbolize our mind. Yeah. Okay. There's nobody inside. It represented no self. Yeah. It looks like there is somebody like a soul or some permanent invisible entity, but actually when we look inside, there's nobody. We are just the aggregates of our body and mind. And the 6th link is contact. You know what? It should be switched. The 6th link is the man and woman embracing each other. When a baby is born, it first comes into the world. Its 6 organs come to contact with the sense object. Eye with the form, ear with the sound, nose with the smell, and so on. This contact is symbolized by a man and woman embracing each other. When these sense organs come into contact with the sense object, some sensations or feelings arise. Various sensations of feelings arise, whether it's a visual sensation, tactile sensation, or olfactory sensation, or mental thing, and so on. It's represented by a man whose eyes really gruesome. It's pierced by an arrow. Why? Most of the humans' information comes from what we see. For example, when a boy is attracted to a girl, they are attracted by their appearance. Visual sensation is the most important. So the sensation is represented by this man whose eye got pierced by an arrow. We can categorize sensation into 3 kinds. 3 kinds. Pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. When some sensation is pleasant, like the taste of a chocolate, or some image of your new girlfriend or boyfriend. When the sensation is pleasant, some desire arises. I would like to hold that. I would like to possess that for good. This sensation gives rise to craving or desire. This is the 8th link that's represented by a man who's completely drunken. As one becomes drunk or deluded by wine, one becomes deluded by desire. Just as a thirst will never be satisfied by wine, man cannot be satisfied by one's desire and ever craves even more. And then this craving gives rise to grasping, which is represented by a man who tried to pick up some fruit. Let's say it's a forbidden fruit that Adam and Eve ate. The Hebrew scripture says, the fruit was pleasant to the eyes. When I read the Genesis, it described it. It was pleasant to the eyes. We would like to hold that. It's grasping. And then the 10th link is a pregnant woman. Through this grasping, one acts with the body, speech, and mind and create the karma. Even after we die, the energy of clinging, desire, continues, driving one to search for another body, become powerfully attracted towards its future parents, and one becomes born in some realm of existence. And the next link is birth. One is born in sometimes in human realm or animal realm, and so on. Birth leads to old age and death. This is the 12 links of dependent origination, the causal relationship. How humans are born, suffer, or why we are suffering. There are many explanations of these 12 links of dependent origination. What I just talked to you is so-called sequential interpretation. It's explained by over a period of 3 times, the past, the present, and the future. One Buddhist master said in the Awakening of a Faith, it's a very classical Buddhist scripture, he said, as the result of the winds of ignorance, mind which is intrinsically pure becomes agitated and forms waves. In short, ignorance gives rise to some karmic action. It's linked to grasping, desire, and these are imprinted in our mind, and our consciousness that's deluded with those karmic seeds lead us to be born in some realm of existence again and again. So the ultimate culprit is the ignorance. It starts from the ignorance. How can we be free from this cyclic existence, birth, suffering, and death? We have to destroy this first link, ignorance. That is the solution. That's why we meditate and study scriptures and so on. It is not just stress reduction, or it's a very, very serious thing in order to destroy the ignorance, to be free from the cyclic existence. And in Buddhism, the person who conquered the ignorance is called Arahat. Arahat in the Chinese, called the Arahan, Arahat. That Sanskrit literally means the one who conquered ignorance, the one who vanquished ignorance. The Arahat, the enlightened one, literally means that. And Nagarjuna, the founder of the Mahayana Buddhism, said, the cessation of ignorance occurs through meditation and wisdom. Through meditation and wisdom, we can destroy that ignorance. Particularly, concretely speaking, letting go our attachments is a very, very important thing to destroy ignorance, to free ourselves. Think about to what are you attached? We have a lot of attachments. Some people are attached to some pretty shoes or gorgeous clothes or some material thing, nice car. The object can be various. But several years ago, when we have some ministers gathering, one minister told me what he experienced to me. The minister came from Korea, and she's working in the charitable organization. She usually spends most of her time in the office. So in order to improve her health and to refresh her mind, she started to play tennis after dinner, particularly on weekend. She really liked that. One day, on Sunday, all the minister and the other staff in that charitable organization went to the picnic in the Bukhansan mountain in Korea. And while she was crossing over a brook, her foot slipped off the stepping stone, and she had a very bad fall, and her head hit the rock in the stream. She immediately lost the consciousness. And her colleague got panicked and drew her out of the stream. In her hazy state, she saw a vision. Do you know what that vision was? Yeah. She was sitting on a bench in a tennis court, watching tennis game. She was half unconscious. So she's a minister. She knows what's going on in her mind. So she realized, wow, this is because of my attachment. In order to save myself, I have to get out of it. I have to leave this tennis court. So she told me, she decided her mind to, first she stand up from the bench and leave the tennis court. She told us that when she struggled to stand up, she felt like she was so attached to the bench with a very strong adhesive. She could not stand up. While she was struggling, her colleague made it to wake her up. So after that incident, she became very, very serious practitioner. Really, really attachment. It's a very, very small thing. One start to love playing tennis. It is not a bad thing at all. But particularly in any moment, especially at our last moment, attachment shackle our mind, to lose our consciousness. When I worked on our daily basis, we have to practice letting go of some unwholesome attachment. In that particular area, we have to practice mindfulness. When you practice meditation on a regular basis, very, very gradually, you discover yourself. You become free from lots of unwholesome attachment. But on a daily basis, on some particular area that really shackle your mind, we have to practice mindfulness to let go of, to cut that attachment. When I worked in Philadelphia, one temple, the head minister was Seungsan-nim, and his wife got a cancerous tumor, and she got an operation a couple of times. When she had the operation, as I remember the third time, the doctor discovered or the cancerous tumor spread to all the internal organs, and there is no hope for her to fully recover. And they told very honestly to their patient that you cannot live more than probably several weeks. And we and other ministers, other temple members visited her in the hospital, Abington Hospital. When she heard it is time to go, then we were very, very surprised. I went there with Won Guang and Guang, two are won-Buddhist ministers right now. They were ordained several years ago. And at the time, they were the pre-minister, the students of the Won Institute. It's at the last moment, so they become very, very emotional. And two sons would like to hold her hands, her mother's hand, but she refused to hold her son's hands. Before that, but she held and they conversed a lot. But when she decided her mind, it is time to leave in order to let go of her attachment, actually, she said to her two sons, you do not have to hold my hands. You should let me go. It's a very strong determination. I was very surprised in that room. However big a ship is, if it is tied to an anchor, it cannot embark. It's a journey on the vast ocean. When a tree is cut, do you know in what direction it falls down? To the east or west? Like to the side, for on the heavier side, which has a lot of branches. So when we leave this world, our consciousness first chase after our attachment. So when you let go of attachment in this very life, at this very moment, we can live a far freer, far happier life, actually. So let me conclude my talk by reading our founding master's word.
The founding master said, every day people must frequently develop and cultivate the practice of non-attachment. For those with strong attachments to wealth, sex, fame, and profit, to spouse, children, and relatives, or to clothes, food, and shelter, their worries and suffering will be much greater than the average people when those things vanish before their eyes. This would be a real hell on earth. Even when they die, they will again be dragged around by their attachments, unable to free themselves, and would end up falling into the sea of transgressive karma. How could you get to be cautious about this? If we observe the lives of all sentient beings and the process of their rebirth, we can discover that the occupations of humans, as well as their ways of living, are immensely diverse. However, we can divide them into two types. One is the world of attachment. The other is the world of liberation. In the first world, humans are driven by greed, anger, and delusion. They do not think about tomorrow, but live for the pleasures of today. In this world, they darken their spirits and scatter their minds, which are originally pure and perfect, and lead their lives creating many transgressions. In the latter or second world, humans are guided by concentration, wisdom, and mindful action, and live their lives illuminating their minds, gathering their thoughts, and collecting their spirits. They live to create many blessings for tomorrow, even if today is not pleasant.
Okay, thanks so much.